Now I'd like you to please welcome to the stage our Institute Director, Peter Roberts.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning? Good morning. Come on. Thanks, Jacinta, for the acknowledgement of country. And I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Darug people, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal people that are with us today. And I know Karen and David and Jacinta are here, and if I haven't met others, welcome and my acknowledgement. It really is an important day for us today. We say this every forum, but in my perspective, from the 5.5 years that I've been here, this is a really, really important day. And it's about the future, and it's about that it's here now for us. And I'm just going to set the scene a little bit about where we are now in the sector that we work in, where we are at SWSi. What's our vision about where we're going, how we're going to get there as an organisation, and how perhaps you individually might want to get there. But I just wanted to overview what the connection is between now and the future. So many things that, in my view, were fluid 6 months ago and now, or perhaps maybe a little bit longer, say, 10 months ago, are now very real. And I think that enables us, because we understand, the setting for the future, we can start planning with more certainty and more confidence, but also, understand why so much change is happening to us as individuals and as an organisation. And if I just say, even 6 months ago, what's now different? One, we have a new state government re-elected with a very firm mandate for change. And I think some of the national issues that have been floating for a while are now starting to get consolidated. The transformation of our economy is now fairly certain. There's a big shift in the services sector, a change in the way manufacturing is occurring across the country, massive investment in infrastructure. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. And we have David Borgia, who come to talk about what's happening in Western Sydney. And also, there's been a significant amount of change fatigue, I suppose, impacting on us. And we'll talk a little bit about some of that is temporary, and some of that is based on years and years of constant change. And we need to have some certainty. And on the other side of that, there's the temporary changes that are impacting on us, and we'll use the system stuff, for instance, for everyone in the room, the massive impact that's having on you. And can we see past that to see what a new future for us as an organisation would be? So that outlines what I'm going to talk about and try and set the scene a little bit to give you for the rest of the day, which is very powerful based on supporting you manage through this change and lead through this change. But I think we need to recognise that what's happening nationally in our sector, and what's a little bit perhaps more certain than it was 3 or 4 months ago even, or 6 months ago. COAG, which is federal and state governments, have just recently reconfirmed their commitment to vet reform nationally. That federal funding, even in the last COAG meeting, a month ago, committed to reviewing who funds the vet sector, the feds or the states. They're big initiatives. The states, the states in Australia have confirmed their commitment to vet, and it's strengthened, particularly after the elections in Queensland and Victoria, that TAFE were big issues. The destruction of TAFE in those states were big issues. And our introduction to Smart and Skilled is, extremely moderate compared to what happened in those states. There's no comparison. And the balance has been tipped back into states wanting to have an influence on the system, and it reconfirmed that it's valuable to industry, community and to government. It's very important for us as we're not working in the auto industry in Geelong or the shipbuilding industry. Maybe that might have changed in South Australia, but we have a strong future. There's no doubt industry will have a greater influence on training packages and funding priorities. The whole shift of the development of training packages from skill councils to new models will be introduced. ASQA has been strengthened, a lot more money to the regulator, an indication of quality is a concern, and therefore government's investing in regulation, which is good for us because the standards are now back on the agenda. Vet fee help restrictions on providers to protect consumers. As any of you in the vet fee help area will know, there was a lot of dodgy providers, but also that has a huge impact on us because, our revenues are driven from a lot of vet fee help provision, and therefore, there's a lot more administration for us, but there's consumer protection, and consumer demand is really important. And what's been a big player in the market is uncapped university places, driving a lot of students, particularly in our diploma and above programs, to universities rather than what was traditionally to vet. And I think watch that space, because some data came out yesterday about some universities having 30% attrition and 40% attrition in the first year. And then the Minister last night that I was at a World Skills Farewell, Federal Assistant Minister for Education and Training, identifying that the flow to universities and uncapped places and the lack of progression to vet was a major problem for the country. So that's the national scene. Vet is on the agenda. Vet is important, but it's a transformed vet. It's a transformed TAFE. It's not the old model. So what's happening in New South Wales? Absolutely growing economy, kicking everyone now, moving very fast. Still identified skill shortages in many, many areas. And some of them are scary for industry and scary for employers and scary for government, because they won't be able to meet the targets of their infrastructure investment to build the economy, because there's not enough people out there to do the work. And vet, therefore, is in demand. Whether it's in the public sector, TAFE, or in the private sector, it's in demand. You'd be all aware of the massive investment in infrastructure that's occurring in the New South Wales budget and will be I believe, in the federal budget. Technology is now, significant influence on every part of our lives and our businesses and our future. If we don't understand the impact of what the NBN big rollout, 4,000 jobs, I was just talking to Phil, 6,000 in other parts of the sector, of what rolling out now, what will broadband mean to business, and where do we sit in that, particularly in education sector, and what it will do to education alone. And without doubt, and David Borgia will talk about this morning, the growth in Western Sydney, the massive growth in where we work. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal what will happen in our region in the next 10 to 20 years. Importantly, TAFE is expected to operate now as a sustainable business. We gradually will have decreased grants, which has mean money given to us as a grant to TAFE. That's just the way that it's going to be. Therefore, being sustainable as a business is just the way that it is. It will not change, and it hasn't changed in any other state. And I don't believe it'll change here. And the messages that we're getting, even in states that that maybe not in the coalition persuasion, have an absolute commitment to transforming vet. And you will know that the vet reforms were brought in under a previous Labor federal government, not the current federal coalition government. So, what we are in for is being a sustainable business. We are in a new department. We're not in Education and Communities anymore, Department of Education. We have a new minister, Minister for Skills, regional development and small business. There's messages there about where the government sees, TAFE and in the vet sector. And there's very much a focus on industry and jobs. Very much a focus on the role of the vet sector in delivering industry support and jobs. And a government commitment in New South Wales quite publicly from the Premier down to TAFE, but a transformed TAFE. A different TAFE that perhaps existed for the last 20 or 30 years. Not devaluing us, but making us an important and critical part of the New South Wales economy. And as part of that, there's a review by government of how TAFE is governed. That means the management, how we report. Going out of the Department of Education and Communities, our Managing Director, Pam Christie, reports directly to the Minister, still within that department, not through the Secretary, to the Minister. There's a new chair of the TAFE board. The TAFE board currently is an advisory board. I wouldn't doubt over the next year or so it becomes a governing board with more power to influence the direction of TAFE. A new chair of the TAFE board appointed from the business sector to drive us as a business and be industry-led. A review of our assets, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Our institute viability, can we all be viable in this commercial market, and how might government react to that if we're not? And of course, for impacting on everyone in the room is that we're in enterprise bargaining now for all our enterprise agreements and in remuneration and working conditions of our people right across the state. They're big challenges going on for all of us. But that's the New South Wales approach. Whoop. Okay. So where are SWSi now? Without doubt, we have outstanding people and outstanding capability. And I've seen over the last, 5 years that I've been here, but particularly in the last year, an outstanding commitment to change. But I recognise that it's not easy. We do have strong industry and community support for what we do. But there's no doubt in the current transition to smart and skilled and the problems with our systems, we have confused customers and stakeholders. They value us. They understand how important we are. We have huge brand recognition, but whether they think we're open for business is a different thing. Often in the media, politically, and the unions, not knocking unions, but there's messages that TAFE's not open. Yet we all know that we've got many places unfilled that are fully funded. But the message out there is TAFE is closed, which is not true. Reality is that our revenues are driven by enrolments and completions, not grants. We just don't get the money anymore, and you all know that. We are increasing our efficiency, our productivity, and our service excellence. It's tough, but we are. And you all know that the profile and services reviews that we've been doing now for a few years, and a lot of good people have left our organisation, and a lot of good people have joined our organisation. That change is constant and it's challenging, but I don't think it will. I think it will diminish over time the extent, but we'll be constantly reviewing and analysing, how we can be sustainable as a business. It means reinventing ourselves. It's not all downsizing. A lot of new things, a lot of new positions are being created. A lot of new capabilities have been brought into the organisation because we needed to have them. So it's not all just out, it's bringing in the new. To be frank, we have very underutilised facilities that give us high overheads, and we need to renew ourselves. We need to renew our assets. We've got a lot of assets built in the 70s, and our customers and you deserve better. And we have an opportunity in the future to reinvest in new capability. But that means that we have to demonstrate that we can manage our resources and our assets and our revenues carefully, and importantly that we can provide value to government. And I'm going to call out, the EBS, and for David and Bruce have just joined us. EBS is our new student admin system that is not working so well. For all the people in the room that use it are terribly frustrated. And other systems like the corporate web advertising our course is broken. So for a lot of people in the room, we're in the middle of what is a crisis, in my view, of system failure that's impacting on our business. And I think just reflect on separating that. If we didn't have, can everyone hear me? If we didn't have EBS and took that away and it was working perfectly, would all the other massive changes that we're going through be manageable? Reflect on that as an individual and say to yourself, I'm not going to discount it. If we didn't have this perfect storm train wreck, would it be manageable? And I talk to some people and they say to me, without that we can handle everything else. The challenge for us is fixing that. And I won't give any guarantees because I've given many guarantees about we're going to fix it, but we will fix it. There's a lot of commitment to fixing it. It's just taking, because of the complexity of it, a little bit longer than it should. So, think what's really important now that we've set the scene nationally, state government and locally, and there's many other issues that you'll deal with. We're in a very strong, solid position as an organisation. We're in demand. We're in the fastest growing and most dynamic region in the country. And David will talk about what's happening in infrastructure and development, which is powerful. We have a capable organisation built on outstanding people and excellence and industry and community support. That's right now. So there's opportunity everywhere. So where do we want to be? And I've just painted a little bit of a picture that, in 5 years to 10 years, and I think it's going to take that long to transform our business, we'll continue to attract and retain the best staff. We've got to be built on our people. And this today is all about you in the room, the leaders of our organisation that actually make it work, have some confidence that this is where we're going to be. We're going to be the first provider of choice for industry training. Often we think we are, but in lots of ways we've been there because we've been the only provider. Now that we've got competition, there's a lot more choice, and we've already seen industry taking and businesses making choices because we are a little bit slow sometimes, we are a little bit bureaucratic sometimes, a little inflexible sometimes, and we also have pockets of absolute innovation, absolute flexibility, absolute, industry just loves us, but we've got to get that from pockets to the whole organisation, and we will. We will. We'll share services with organisations to build thriving communities. A lot of our recent customer engagement change management or community engagement change management plan, customer services and support, is all about working with our communities in clusters of colleges based on LGAs, local government areas, and the agencies, whether they're government agencies, non-government agencies, organisations that support people and growth and capability building, both in communities and in industry, working together. No longer will there be all agencies competing with each other. Government's not funding it, whether it's federal government, state government, or local government, or non-government organisations out there building capacity. We've got to work together. The future for us is in working partnerships with all those organisations. And that's been a big driver in the major reform that we've just gone through with our support services to students and communities. It underpins our future, and we're on the right path. We need to provide outstanding learning experiences for our students. That's the main game. The only reason we exist is that we service individuals and organisations building their own workforce capability, but it has to be outstanding learning experience because our competitors will deliver it if we don't. or they'll continue to deliver it. We've just got to do it better than them and give a better value proposition. Now, in some of our facilities and some of the ways we deliver, we're not there. That's not your fault. Not our fault, but we have an opportunity to reinvent ourselves in partnership with other organisations. And we've started that process in a whole vision about our asset renewal and getting government support to take in a different direction. And we've got big infrastructure projects being approved recently, a massive redevelopment of transport and automotive and at Wetherill Park, which will change the face of how we deliver those type of programs. And it's been hard. 4 colleges into one facility, with Campbelltown remaining, as it is because of the growth out here. But that facility, not only what's going to be, how we're going to embed it with industry and how we're going to deliver that training is no one else in the country is doing that. We've just had approval to do engineering, manufacturing, also to go into Wetherill Park. And it'll be the same principle, not delivering the way that we've always delivered, but deliver highly efficiently, highly focused on the technology of the future, highly flexible, embedded with industry as it won't work. And it's got to centre on the way that we construct the learning environment and the student experience. And that needs to spread across our flexible learning centres that we've already developed into many of our colleges that have been taken up by IT and business particularly, about transforming the learning experience for the student and have student-centred, problem-centred learning rather than perhaps totally teacher-led. That's a pedagogical issue that we need to get our head around as well. We need to embrace technology to enable connectivity and innovation, connectivity with only our students, but our customers, with our world. It's a digital world, but also the way that the economy will transform. We need to be embedded in that. And that's a challenge for us as leaders as well, to get our head around it. As I said before, use modern, flexible and efficient, highly efficient, industry-relevant facilities. And perhaps some of our facilities were built for an industry of, 10 or 20 years ago, where industry is transforming itself, and perhaps we don't have to have that or the technology in our colleges, but way we can connect to where they already exist within the industries that'll build out here, where we can be closely connected and totally engaged with upgrading whatever we'd have in a college or what we have in an industry. We will partner with RTOs and universities to deliver service, because we can't deliver it all, but it's deliver rather than compete and not be part of what other organisations are very agile and able to do. We will do more and more of that, and we're already starting to do that now, where we carve out our piece, they carve out their piece, and the customer is totally satisfied that they're getting the training that they need for the future. And it's very difficult in some of the emerging and high-tech areas to be able to cover it all in an organisation like us. Delivering the workplace in communities, of course, online and blended. And that means, in colleges, in workplaces, in communities, and perhaps doing it all at the same time for an individual student. And we must be financially viable, or we will be financially viable and commercially successful. And if we wrap that up as a vision, I personally believe that we're over the big hump of transforming this organisation to get to that point. Government will support us to be brave. Industry and the communities will support us to be responsive. All we just need is the capability to move there. And a lot about today is about how you get the capability as individuals and as teams to take us forward, because it can't be done by me or the Board of Management. It's really got to be done by you. So, importantly, how are we going to get there as an organisation? And these are principles that we've talked about before, but I think they're at the cornerstone of the success in a high level. And you make it what you need to make it for as individuals, because you're all different. You've all got different stakeholders, different demands on you. You just got to customise it. But without doubt, we've got to listen to our customers and our stakeholders about what they want. Often we can help them frame that world because they mightn't be too sure. But listening is really powerful in terms of the changing nature of business these days. And often we go in, and I've done it myself, and say, listen, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this. And then once you've stopped talking, then they say, look, thanks very much, but I don't need any of that. What I need is, soft skills. I don't need any welding. Actually, I need all the welders that I've got. I can train them to be welders. I want them to be able to read a spreadsheet and report on faults. I need to be able to communicate with our customer. I need to be able to, be better at work health and safety. And you say, oh, okay, I thought I was here to talk to you about welding. So that means that we might go there to do, I'm only using welding as an example, but automotive or, accounting or anything. You might go there to sell them the hard skill, but it's the soft skill. You might go to sell them the soft skill, but it's the hard skill we need. So we need to on-sell our capability that mightn't have in our own patch, but it's going and connecting with someone else in our organisation that has that capability. That's a huge change in many ways from our traditional way of engaging. Innovative, and we've been talking to innovation from before I came here, and SWSi's got a whole book of the wonderful innovations that this organisation has been able to deliver to industry and community and of individuals. That's not only best in the country, it's world class. And when we became Australia's largest training provider of the year in 2013, what blew them away was the innovative capacity of our people to engage with our stakeholders and our business to make a huge difference in productivity and outcomes for business and for individuals. We've got to grow that, and we'll continue to grow that, and in the way we deliver services and support our learners. Partnerships, we've talked about it, and we're doing a lot of partnerships, but nowhere near enough for us to transform the business into the vision that I painted about where we're going. They're vital. We need to be, working with others that have a capacity that perhaps we don't have to make a bigger whole. It's hard work, and we've got to build confidence in potential partners. But the more I talk to industry, the more they scream out for support from the TAFE sector to partner with us. Not tell them what to do, not take the whole lead. We can't do that anyway, but to be a genuine partner. And partnerships take some time to develop, and there's sometimes some rocky roads, and sometimes it doesn't work, but we've got to work at it. And working at it is sometimes challenging. We've got to find ways of doing that. We need to deliver value to the students, industry, community and government. People will pay with either time or their own hard-earned, and government will pay, but it needs to be a value proposition. We need to have a demonstrated value as consumers. Now our students are, and you're all consumers in the room. You want value for your dollar. And we've never really had to worry about that to a large degree because we got funded no matter if the students completed or didn't turn up. Or now it's a rule. We've got to attract and retain them and give them value. We've got to attract and retain our industry and community customers to give them value. And once we've demonstrated the value proposition to them, they'll be lifelong customers, and then they'll on-sell us to everyone else. It's just like you going and purchasing anything. Skills and training and services are a commodity that people have got choice in. We must maintain our commitment to quality and excellence. It's the difference between us and many of the providers that are out there. There's a lot of good providers, but we also know the dodgy ones that are killing our brand and killing the vet sector. And we need to maintain our standards and not compromise on them. Doesn't mean we have to over-service. It doesn't mean we have to go to be the gold-plated when we only get, bronze-plated revenue, but we have to, maintain the standards. We need to embed ourselves in enterprises and the communities. That means we can't do it all from the colleges. We must be on the ground, in industry, in communities, understanding their needs, and in any ways, perhaps showing the way, because of our expertise and our recognition in industry as leaders and community. But you've got to do that from their perspective, and we have got capabilities to show the way without any doubt with our, the talented and capable and highly recognised professional, people that we have in our organisation. And where we haven't got them, because we've got gaps, let's attract them and let them be the leaders. But we must be out there, not doing it from inside our organisation wholly. We've got to be out there recognising that all those visions won't occur unless we can deliver from a customer's perspective and understand their perspective in what a world for business and industry, commerce, wherever you go, is changing enormously. And we can be in our own world and think, I've been in TAFE for 10 years and I came out of a world and I haven't been back there before, and you go back to the businesses and they've transformed themselves dramatically. Now, I know most of the people in the room would be really up to date with this, but you don't understand it. So I've run out of time. Okay, I can just see a big click. So investing in new capabilities, I'm going to go over, and highly efficient utilisation of our resources. So just in finishing, how do we get there? How are you going to get there individually? I think this is really important, and it's the heart of the day. And David will talk about what the opportunities are. And for the rest of the day, it's all about giving you some skills and some tools and some capabilities to enable you to do it better, or enable you to, share and work with your colleagues in making it better. We need to celebrate more. I think we focus very much on what's not working because it drags us down. But there are so many fantastic things. I was at a World Skills farewell for the Skilleroos last night, and 3 of our students, the best in the country, in floristry, in fashion technology and refrigeration, going to Brazil to represent Australia. The last World Skills we had 6 go. We had 2 experts go, David Borgia from forestry and Dion Erie from cabinet making, going there as experts in the best in Australia, 2 of our staff. And we've got other staff here that have been, as experts. So celebrate your successes, and we need to do that more as an organisation. Support colleagues through the transformation process, because it's not going to stop. There is a transformation process required to take us from where we are now to the future, but we've got to start it now. Develop yourself and your team, and you look at the resources that we'll go through, whether they're in the back of your folder, and the resources we have in this organisation are unbelievable. And build your capability and the capability around you. Look after yourself. I see many, many people at the end of their tether, and I can understand that. But you need to balance. It can't be all EBS, and I think it is for many people. But you've got to balance your own personal well-being and that of your family with work, which is a critical, important part of your life, of course. But there's got to be a balance. I'm really big on taking managed risks to grasp opportunity. Sometimes our own organisation just gets in the road of a good opportunity. And we need to take managed risks to do that. But that means engaging with your authorising environment and just go for it. Give it and listen to feedback. It's very important that often we don't listen. I'm just talking about myself. And we need to understand and feed good stories and not the bad stories. And this is just a personal observation. We often talk about all the things that are not going wrong, but there's so many things going right. We don't feed them, nurture them. We nurture the negatives because it sometimes change is a tough place. But if we focus on the positive stories that are there, and our student stories and our engagement stories, it'll make us feel a hell of a lot better, and smile and laugh a little bit more than we're currently doing. We are all standing up. We're in a wonderful place to be as an organisation. We have got challenges in a change process, but we'll get through them. I think we just got to, often I walk around with a big grumpy look on my face, and I don't need to be because I'm naturally just need to smile. And we all know that the therapy about smiling and laughing, what it does for you as an individual is very powerful. So in finishing, going over time, and I'm going to get into big trouble. You've all seen this curve before. We've talked about it. But I think we've got to reflect on where we are on this change curve. And for some of us, that can change every day depending on what we're dealing with. But I kind of think now that we're getting towards the bottom of that curve. And where does it go from there? It's up. And that's why I'm thinking the future is now. Is that in some areas, you know, I'm still in shock about some things too, but for the whole, you know, I talk about my personal resistance to some things that I've wanted to fight a battle on, and I've just said, okay, I'm going to accept it and just get on with it because I can't change it. It's going to move forward, and it's a big organisation, taking a lot of people with us on a journey. Just reflect on where you are, and that if you're somewhere down towards the bottom of the curve, look ahead. It's all on the up. And I can give you some guarantees that if we work together, I'm sure that the vision that I painted about where we're going to be in 5 years, you know, to 10 years, and where we need to take the organisation just for the benefit of the people in our region and the benefit of the people in New South Wales, you know, we'll get there. So have a really, really good day. Take in everything you can, but don't leave it here at the end of the day. Put it into practice. Thank you.